we are today in 2023 like 1968, when I was 7. When the whole world changed from 68 to 73, the music revolution, which was a big part of my past, right? The sexual revolution, also part of my past, just kidding. All of those revolutions coming together and just basically creating a new world. And now we are here 2023 to 2025. We're going to see all those paradigm changes play out in the big way. It makes me very hopeful. I believe that humans are in principle good, so that's why I think we can actually take advantage of it. So let me go through my key shifts here. I'll start with the very first one. Okay, the mega challenge, right? Economy becoming the planet, right? The focus of this idea of that it's primarily about economics is the past now. Now everybody knows it's primarily about the planet now, and economics are there to help us fix the planet, right? And that goes with the shift on policy, from profit and growth to the 4 Ps, as I call it. And John Elgington and others call it people, planet, profit. It's been around for a while. This is the most fundamental shift. Everything is going to be subordinate to this shift from economy to planet. In other words, it won't matter how much money you make. If the planet won't be there to help us and to where we can live, what's the point, right? If your kids are going to live in a world that's 5 degrees hotter than today, then most of the money will not help us, unless, of course, you're Elon Musk, when you can go to Mars and just kind of get away from it all, right? So this is a fundamental shift that's happening here, away from this obsession with income and the stock market and growth and GDP, which Bobby Kennedy already said, 1968, GDP measures everything except that which makes our lives worthwhile, right? And this is what makes our lives worthwhile, right? It is, of course, what we do on the planet, the rewilding thing, the E.O. Wilson concept that's coming back, the collaborative approach, right? Measuring our footprint. All of these things are now becoming the new normal in a very fast time. I tell you one thing, this year, when the Ukraine-Russia war winds down, which I think we will see that happening, even if it's a bit of a constructed solution, a ceasefire or so, then all hell is going to break loose on this topic, right? Because our energy is plugged up with this here in Europe on this whole discussion about the Ukraine-Russia affair. So there's going to be a huge unleashing of this. And that's driven by those 3 revolutions that I've put together in the last couple of months. The digital revolution, which is an old hat, all of you are familiar with that. The sustainability revolution, which is 100x of digital, green is the new digital, 100 million new jobs, and that's followed by what I call the purpose revolution. The idea of saying it's all great, but in the end the purpose is not just to make more money, the purpose is to have a happy life, self-realization, move towards the future in a collective way. 10 billion people, right, by 2030, we're going to need to really integrate those revolutions. And here's the interesting part, it gets progressively larger. Digital revolution is large, no doubt, but sustainable revolution, $150 trillion shift in economics. America taking the lead, which is really interesting considering its past, right? Now we have, with the IRA Act, a huge shift towards this new future. And then the purpose revolution, that's the biggest of all of it, leading us to kind of the Star Trek economy, you could say, as I call it, the good future, right? And that is so important, especially when you look at these stats here, right? Aligning time with purpose, after the COVID crisis, around the world, everybody is pursuing more purposeful goals. That's why we are here, right? Because we're not pursuing a speaking gig here, we're pursuing a purposeful goal of the good future. And that is happening across, and the biggest part is happening with the millennials, right? The Gen Y, let's say roughly 25 to 40, even 45, asking for purpose, asking for a more fruitful future. And this is really our mega challenge here when we look at the World Economic Forum statistics, which are really good. Some people are down on the World Economic Forum. I'm not one of them, but I certainly won't jump at their defense all the time either. But this slide shows us the primary thing today is cost of living, the war, the migration, and so on. But in 10 years, it's all about climate, right? Like all of these boxes are green. Right? So if you look at this, you can safely say, this is the focus. Right? If you're missing the turn from economy to planet, you're going to miss the boat completely. People will hate your company if you're not totally sustainable and circular by 2030. And before that, this is really like going into a massive movement, right? And Kevin Kelly was mentioned earlier. Kevin talked a lot about this idea of the good future. He didn't call it the good future, but I'm just kind of putting that on him. So he talked about utopia and dystopia, and I really think what's happening, his word of protopia, no, the stepwise approach into the future, that's where we are right now, and we're leaping into that future. We're not going to solve every problem, and Kevin has said many times, which I agree with, we shouldn't be optimistic because there's less problems, there's not. But we have more capacity to solve them. This is the Holy Grail. Protopia gives us the capacity to solve. That's why I'm hopeful about the future. Look at what people are saying about sustainable travel. Most people are extremely concerned, very concerned, and moderately concerned about sustainable travel. I just did a gig for the airline industry. I mean, this should tell you something. This is a huge shift. If you asked that 10 years ago, it would have been a tiny slice of people who are interested in the sort of sustainable travel and so on. And now Lufthansa, the airline that I fly most, of course, given that I'm German and also live in Switzerland, right? Just 3 weeks ago, they come up with a business green ticket where you can give money to green organizations and you get more miles, so you can fly more, which is kind of a weird thing, right? But I mean, this is where we're seeing this surfacing very, very quickly. We're seeing cruise ship ports in Norway barring cruise ships from entering that don't have an electric engine. And we're seeing all of this in a major way. For example, here we see the fossil fuel recruiters are banned from universities. So you can't do any more recruiting if you work for a fossil fuel company. This is happening in England, in the US, and Indonesia. And the insurance industry, Swiss Re here, for example, in Switzerland, walking away from insuring coal plants. That makes it basically impossible to build one. These are all signs, very slow signs, albeit probably too slow, that are happening. The cruise ship industry is a great example. It's basically, I would say, kind of mission impossible to fix the cruise ship industry as sustainable. And do we really need to have more cruise ships and more, 10,000 people per day entering Santorini in Greece, flooding the world with cheap copies of Swiss watches and stuff? But basically, this is the bottom line. Business as usual is dead or dying. We're not going to go on like this. If you think we're going back to 2019 just with more vigor and revenge, that's not going to happen. Right? We're going back to restaurants, we're going back to traveling, we're going back to all these things, but the world has changed. Look at this like we're already in 1971. Right? It's a little bit too late to go back and wrap up the ideas from that time. They're everywhere, from McKinsey to the beef industry to COP28 that's coming right now. The world is changing at dramatic pace, and that is what we're seeing in the future. We're going to see very hopefully, of course, here the decoupling of climate emissions, CO2, and GDP. It is actually possible to grow, sensibly, of course, by putting out less CO2 at the same time. It is, technically speaking, entirely possible. But here's the bottom line. It's not enough to have great technology, great science and technology. We must have good policy, right? We need good politicians. Well, that's kind of an oxymoron. I guess in many ways, the best one just quit in New Zealand, but Jacinda Ardern. But we need good policy making, not just good technology. We need both, really, for that to happen. And I think quite clearly, we need a different stock market. I think we should do away with NASDAQ. Well, that's going to continue, of course, for a while. And we should build what I call a SUSDAQ, right? The sustainable stock market. I think the first country to bring that stock market into fruition, I'm trying to pitch Switzerland for this, they will clean up. There's already one like this in San Francisco, of all places, of course, called the Long-Term Stock Exchange, right? Same thing. But we're going to need a different stock market to support that transition to a new capitalism from the mega challenge towards the planet, right? And we're seeing all that stuff playing out. The next 100 unicorns, says BlackRock Partners, the biggest investor in the world, they're all going to be in climate technology. And this curve is happening now. This is not just pie in the sky, as Peter was saying earlier. This is actually happening at this very moment, right? And the same goes here. And a similar chart than Peter's earlier, $1 trillion energy transition investments, including nuclear. Big debate on that we can have later. But, generally speaking, this is really, really powerful stuff. And you have the other chart here showing that people expect climate change, public health, and technology governance to be the #1 topics. Anybody ignoring that sticks with the old agenda, basically it's sold in the junkyard. This is the last couple of years you're going to see the biggest company in the world, Aramco, the Saudi Arabian oil company, to be the richest company in the world, followed by Apple. That is a luxury you can afford for another year or two, and then it's off to oblivion. And not Apple, of course, hopefully not Apple, but the other companies that I just mentioned. So Also about ESG, right? What is happening? ESG is basically, as a vehicle of sustainability, it's just totally weak. So now we have BlackRock partners coming forward, Larry Fink, saying we have to completely reinvent ESG and really pushing the agenda. And he's getting whacked all the time about this, how he wants to change the business model of capitalism. And they've created a new unit called Transition Capital just to do that. Right? And down here we have GFANZ. This is the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero, run by Mark Carney, the ex-Bank of England governor, right? And he's also catching a lot of flack for doing this, for basically stepping out in front of a new ESG wave. Make no mistake about this. This is happening right now. ESG is being reinvented as actually useful. Now we have science fiction writers, Kim Stanley Robinson, my favorite writer, talking about how we have to create a mechanism that he calls the carbon coin to fund a shift of $150 trillion. You've got to read his book, also this article from Mashable, how carbon coin could save the planet, and of course his book, The Ministry for the Future. It kind of describes what is actually possible in a science fiction way. Really, really powerful stuff. So, bottom line of the first part here is, yeah, we're not going back to normal. The old way of doing things is breaking, right? The mega challenge is to make that shift, and anybody who doesn't go there will find themselves out of an audience, out of consumers, and out of money sooner or later. So number two is how the world is changing by basically rewriting capitalism. And I'll tell you one thing before I get into this. The whole idea of capitalism, socialism, communism is an old hat. We should throw away those words, really. They're utterly useless now. Right? What matters is that we have a future-fit economy, that we can build a world that is fit and that works for most of us, for all of us, not just for 10% of us, and it won't be the traditional way of capitalism. And that has been said many, many times, and I'm not proposing socialism here or anything. Being here with Mark Benioff, the CEO of Salesforce, who've been saying this for years, that capitalism as we know it is not a good recipe for the future, right? And you see all this stuff coming around with the paradigm shifts towards the 4 Ps and the sustainable capitalism of Al Gore, and good old Milton Friedman making a guest appearance here on our event. Right? From the 70s, there's only one responsibility, and that is to make more money. That kind of idea is over, and it will kill us. And everybody's realizing that this is a new force coming in, right? Capitalism as we know it. Now we should not play again. So we have this change of paradigm on a global level, going from this old story of profit and growth and GDP that has given us a darkening, worsening planet, to a new paradigm of the 4 Ps, right? People, planet, purpose, and prosperity, that can not just save the planet, but also our very existence. And this is becoming imminent everywhere. There's a major discussion point, whether you're in tourism or technology, whatever you're in, green is the new digital, right? Remember that? That's one of my key lines that I keep telling people. That's where the new money is. Moving towards purpose, right? The purpose economy, this is just absolutely crucial. So we have a gallery of purpose companies, right? Time Magazine running these kind of headlines. We have purposeful brands coming up everywhere. We have, of course, the likes of Patagonia, which is an old hat on purpose, but good example. Salesforce, as I mentioned earlier. IKEA, and of course Unilever, that has been making dents into this concept of doing business in a bad way for a long time and really trying to change this. This is happening all around us, the shift towards purpose, right? And basically what's happening here is one of the consequences is that the fossil fuel industry will become kind of criminalized. In fact, I think anybody working in oil or gas in the next couple of years will feel the pinch that this is becoming almost a criminal scene. And I think we're going to see that a lot after this conflict dies down and moving into a really a future that's moving very quickly into this new paradigm. Extinction Rebellion, if you live in the UK, you know what I'm talking about. We're going to see this times 100. Unless we start satisfying what these people are asking for and actually making real change, we're going to see a lot more of this. You know, people are spray painting the Ferrari store and stuff. I mean, this is just a tiny tip of the iceberg, right? I think we're going to see a global shift on this. It'll look like the Gandhi revolution in India, you know, where all of a sudden this is the major threat of change that we're going to see in the next couple of days. So, years, days, that would be nice. And finally, of course, the healthcare situation, right? We're here in a way saying where most of our healthcare, this is why it's so expensive, it's basically sick care. You know, we wait on people get sick and then we give them pills. And very expensive pills. None of that is working any longer. I mean, the healthcare costs are just mushrooming all over the world. And now we're moving into something like the car economy, very similar. Henry Miller once said, one's destination is never a place, but a new way of seeing things. Right? And the car industry has realized this is the new way of seeing things, right? The black box is ICE, the internal combustion engine. That is declining, just like selling records in the music business. And the new business is digital, it's electric vehicles, it's software, right? The new car industry is a software industry. And the same is going to happen with healthcare. Huge opportunity, a little bit later than everything else, because again, there's government involved, which makes it, much less fast. Right? But global digital healthcare market will explode. I mean, no wonder all the companies are after this. This is the next big thing after media and everything that we've seen change, from the old industry to renewable. And now we have this new way of seeing things, going away from the pill economy, moving beyond pills into analytics, smart digital therapeutics, and so on. It's just mind-boggling, all the stuff that's happening there. I think I'm very excited about that. It's for my friend, the medical futurist, which you got to check out, Bertolan, who's putting this up, medicalfuturist.com. This is a device that scans you for melanoma, and then you can look it up, and all these things are coming. That's digital therapeutics. 3D printing of medication that you can print remotely or even at your house. Nanobots in your bloodstream, all that science fiction stuff, that's becoming reality. Smart food, customizable medicine, all that stuff is very, very close. Love this chart from Bertolan here. The Guide to the Future of Medicine. Print this out if you're in the medical business. All the stuff that's happening with patients and with healthcare professionals. Revolution pretty much across the entire spectrum here that we can expect to happen in the next couple of years. And of course, the biggest thing are all the game changers. I call these the healthcare game changers. Cloud computing, artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, 3D printing, and all of those things. I mean, this is the biggest shift. Right after this, of course, it's over to education, really. That is the next thing that's going to happen after healthcare. So convergent industries, technology and healthcare is converging, exponential leaps, very exciting times. Within a decade, we'll see a complete reboot here. And again, the millennials, the Gen Z also, the zillennials, as some people call it, they want healthcare. They don't just want sick care, right? They want healing, not just treating. And that is where everything's going, a more holistic approach on the future of healthcare. So that summarizes my part of the contribution. I know I rambled on a little bit too long, but here's the 4 key points. We're going to share the slides later so you can download them and don't have to memorize absolutely everything. So I want to end with a sentence by Buckminster Fuller. This is my part of the presentation. As we see the future, so we act, and as we act, so we become. That's actually Barbara Hubbard. Rest in peace, she died last year, riffing off Buckminster Fuller. We have to see the future differently, and this is how we can make the future differently. So thanks for listening to this. Now we're going to go back to Peter, and then we'll have a debate and questions.